All right. Hello. Welcome back. This is going to be my second devlog for my game that I still do not know the name of. I still have not decided on what I want it to be. But, just moving on real quick here. So what you'll see me doing right here is I am copying and pasting a previous line of code that is being used consistently throughout each level, which originally I was not doing. I was just consistently writing the same line of code over and over and over, which it's not like it was that time consuming, but it was a little bit time consuming. So I just decided, you know what? Why the hell not just copy and paste it over and over? And then I'm just previewing it, testing out, make sure it works. As you'll see, it doesn't, but we deal with that later in all of this. I'm not too happy about the way this ended, but the way that this devlog is going to end, what you'll see me do. But at the end of the day, sometimes you gotta make adjustments to fit whatever you're doing. But right here, what you'll see me do is I start making a ladder, which I won't explain currently. I might explain later in the devlog what that's about. But if not, I'll definitely explain in the next one. But yeah, what I'm doing right now is just going into Piscal, pixel arting it up, and making a ladder. Pretty much, that's just what I do here for just a little bit more level design that you'll see whenever I do what I'm going to do with it. Right, and then right around here, whenever I finish it and get it to where I want it to be, you'll see me. I try to go to the end of my level just to see how it looks at the end, and then I continuously keep dying in my own game, which was a little humbling, especially because it's not that hard. But I just go to the end just to be able to look at it and see, okay, it looks pretty good. This just was my main thing that I was trying to figure out, and then I go to add my first enemy here. For the level, which whenever I'm coming up with things like these, I'm not really going with I don't have a pre-planned thing of what I want them to be exactly. I just kind of straight up go for it, and whatever is in my mind at that moment of what I want the enemy to be, that is exactly what I make it. And then just me once again in here going over and creating his animation of what I wanted it to be. And this is really the best way I figured out how to do it, is the way I'm doing it here, is just taking one side of him that I'm going to be moving and outlining it to the way I want it, and then filling in the colors there in the way that I want. Pixel art is very, very time consuming, but at the end of the day, it's definitely worth it, as you see here. And then what I'm doing is just testing out how I want the animation to work. Obviously, the way you're seeing it, the video is sped up by 6 times, so the way he's moving is not the way he actually moves in game. But around this point, you'll see me. I'm going in and I'm finding a reference point from a previous AI in the game, previous enemy, and just slightly adjusting his movement and the way I want him to move compared to the way the other one moves, which is always good to have a reference point for what you're doing and go back to a previous thing instead of just trying to take a guess at it. And then here I'm just making a line of code. As you'll see, whenever I get into a collision, I want him to deal this amount of damage. As you'll see there, he kills me, and then I just adjust it to the way I want it, and then keep continuously adjusting it. That's why we love game dev. I don't really know what I was doing here. I was trying to figure out something that I've never done before. It turns out didn't know how to do it. But game dev, going in, troubleshooting continuously, trying to figure out how I want it to actually run, and doing it over and over until I get it to the way I want it. As you'll see, I finally figured it out and got it there. Did it again just to make sure, and then I just go throughout the level, getting him to the way, to the places I want him to be. And then right about here, I start working on a separate enemy that I had planned for this. I worked on his animations as well. Sadly, I ended up just completely scrapping this. There was some issue in the line of code that I just couldn't figure out. I'm just not smart enough, or I don't understand enough on what the issue was. I had a couple of the same issues in the previous levels, but I seem to have fixed them. Obviously, whenever I'm completed enough with my game to where I want to release it at some point, I will definitely run through and test and make sure everything is running properly and that it is all working, and I'm not just leaving something in that shouldn't be there, for example. But obviously, and I put a lot of design into him, and then at some point I was just like, because I wanted him to like fly, but I just kind of gave up on that concept, so I just straight up added legs to him. And I kind of like the design and the animation of it. Obviously, it's sped up for you, but yeah, I liked it, and I put a lot of work into it, and a lot of work into him shooting a projectile and all that. But sadly, that just kind of fell through. It didn't work out. I couldn't figure out how to deal with it, so I just kind of scrapped it and scrapped all of his coding and everything about him. Maybe at some point I might add him in a different one, but directly at this moment, as of recording this, didn't figure it out, and I just kind of gave up on it. But you know, part of the journey. Sometimes you just gotta, you just gotta give up on it, and this is the best advice. As you know, I like, for example, in these, I put a lot of effort into making everything I wanted for him, into writing, into putting down all this line of code and everything like that. But the best advice I can ever give for somebody, as you're watching me like go through all of this and put time and effort into it, best advice I can give to anybody is, whenever you're making your first game, it doesn't have to be perfect. Not everything is gonna work. It doesn't need to be some absolute masterpiece. You don't have to get everything perfectly right. It's your first time. And if you want to release a game, you can't spend all your time trying to make sure everything works 100% properly and that it's fantastic and it's the best game ever, because guess what? You're never going to end up releasing it then. And obviously, as you can see, I did put quite a bit of effort into making this work. And obviously right here, like, the way I have it, I haven't wrote the line to where that he deals damage to me. But regardless, like, nothing's ever going to be perfect. It's not always going to work out. So if you want advice from a beginner, it's never going to be perfect. Just do what you can and get done what you can get done. And if you want to release it, just know it's not going to be perfect, and not everybody is going to end up enjoying your game, because there are going to be issues. And it's the best advice I can give to you. That's the whole point of it. So, but yeah, I put a lot of effort into this, and it just didn't turn out, and that's part of the journey. It's part of learning, And then, so right here, I start working on the screen for after you collect the coin, which in my game is like kind of the, I don't want to say checkpoint, but it's like the finish, right? It's like, okay, you did it, you collect this, you did it, and then I'm just adjusting, make sure I can center the screen, and then I adjust the background a little bit, and then I go into the code and just write and make sure that, okay, this button does that, make sure it all works, and then I run through the level, and pretty sure I fail a couple times. And this is when I started to realize that what the I guess spider fly looking thing, I guess is what he is, whenever he would kill me via what he was shooting, it wouldn't start the death screen, which is the issue I was having, which you can see I start running through it a little bit and start trying to change it a little bit, and I run into there and figure out, okay, so it does work with there, but the spikes don't work either. They're not doing anything, and I kind of got a little bit sidetracked just running through different lines of code and trying to figure out, hey, what is the issue here? And once again, like I said, it turns out I wasn't able to figure it out, sadly, but it's part of the journey. I guess, you know, and it is disappointing to look back on it, but hey, at the end of the day, I still got everything finished, got everything to where I wanted it to be. Well, not where I wanted it to be, but I got everything up, running, working to a point where I was happy with it, or at least somewhat happy with it. And then right about here, once I figured out the spikes didn't work, I went back through the line of code. Sadly, once again, very sadly, I went back through, deleted all of them, got them all off the screen, out of the level, I guess is the word I'm trying to look for, just to deal with that, and then running through and making sure that the other things are still partially working, which the purple or pink, I guess, blobs, I guess is what I'm going to call them, were, but the other things weren't, which I go back through, and you see me contemplating there a little bit. I was getting quite frustrated with it, and at this point, I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to delete it all and just get rid of him, get him out of the level, because I couldn't figure it out, which sucks, it does, but, you know, it's, like I said, part of the journey, you know, not everything's going to work out, sadly. And then, right about at this point is when I decided, alright, you know what, I'm done trying to mess with this guy, I'm just going to go back through the code and just delete, just start deleting everything that has to do with him, and then go through the level and once again delete all of it. Sadly, it sucks, but it ended up pretty alright that I'm happy with. And then with Mr. Blob over here, I guess is what we'll call him, just started moving him out and filling out the spaces where that were open and whatnot, and just making sure it was all working. And then I go back through and create a different death screen to tie the retry button back with the current level that I'm on and not the level beforehand. And so I just needed to make sure there, as you saw, I made sure that I died, and then the retry did work, restart me on the correct level, which is nice to see. Worked out pretty well. And I'm just going through, and I'm pretty sure at this point I was actually trying to make it through and I kept failing, and then by the end of it, it did work, and turns out it was working properly, and that the correct level got to where I needed it to be. But you know, this was fun once again. I'll gladly enjoy doing it again in the future, and yeah, like always, thanks for watching.